Greetings guitar heroes, let's take a little look at picking and, well, strumming really for beginners. Now a lot of people when they start strumming the guitar they tend to move from the arm, which is fine, but as you get faster, if you move from the arm, it's a lot of hard work and you can't get that fast. So you'd be much more fluid and in control if rather than move from the arm stays still and you kind of move from your wrist. See, so my arm's barely moving, it's just my wrist. And this will help with your picking technique when you come to pick individual notes. You'll have a lot more control. You can play funky stuff like... Okay, so try and keep that arm still and move from the wrist. A good way to practice that is to do what's called palm muting, so we can mute our strings with the palm of our hand on the bridge. And so, say a simple C chord, like that, becomes, we can mute it and get it sounding kind of bluesy with that kind of 1, a 2, a 3 shuffle rhythm. That kind of thing. That's just resting my palm of my hand just on the bridge, just enough, not too much or else it all goes dead, but just enough to let the notes ring a little bit but kind of mute them. So instead of this we have, okay. Now another thing is how you hold the pick. Now what I've seen some people do is hold it as if they're like picking up a little thing on a string. It's like between, like that, and it sort of sticks out, and you're asking, when you play like that, it's kind of, you don't have much control, it's too floppy and you're probably going to fly out of your hand at some point. So what I tend to do is, the way I do it is I kind of round off my first finger so it's completely curved around like a kind of letter C, and then the thumb sits straight on top of that. So rather than holding it like that, I'm holding it like that, and then the pick, well, that just sits inside on a kind of right angle. Okay, and it just needs to stick out a little bit. So then I've got my pick and I can control it nicely, you know, and play individual notes or strum chords. That was an awful chord. Okay. Hey. Okay, so that is a little bit of picking technique. Next up, we've got a little song which incorporates some new chords, adding to the lesson that we looked at last week. Yes, okay, now for a little tunage. And we looked last week at 3 chords, A, D and E. And this week we've added a couple of extra chords to that repertoire of C. Or you can play it like that as well if you want. People play it different ways, but the simplest way to play it is 3rd finger, 3rd fret, A string. That's a C note. 2nd finger, 2nd fret, D string. Open G string, open. 1st finger, 1st fret, B string, and an open E. So all together. That's our C. And then for our G, well, we can just move, again, trying to be as economical as possible. We can move our little fingers over, our 2 little 2nd and 3rd fingers, over 1 string, to the G note, which is the 3rd fret of your bottom E string. B, 2nd fret, A string. The next 3 strings are open, making this a big sounding chord. And then it's time to finally put our little pinky into play. Add that on the 3rd fret of the top E string. Now a good question was, because I've now learnt 5 chords, said Tracy, is there any song that features those 5 chords that we've learnt? Well, there is, and so a good way to practice them would be to play the classic song made famous by Jimi Hendrix, Hey Joe. Okay, so if we play C, Hey Joe, G, D, A, all for 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we've got 8 on the E. Of course, he plays it much more rocky and funkier than that, but this is just to get your head round changing the chords. We could even combine those chords with some of the palm muting we talked about earlier, so we got a nice... So just to recap, C, G, D, A of 2 beats, E for 8 beats. Okay, happy playing, and back for some more beginners lessons soon. I thank you.